Hey, Michael here, and today we're going to be walking through Anki Smart Notes. This is an extension for Anki that lets you add AI-generated fields to your cards. So that's text, audio, and images, and then generate thousands of cards with a single click. So let's do a 15-second demo here. All right, so to start it off, we're going to go Tools, Smart Notes, and then we'll add some AI-generated fields to our cards. So let's say we're studying a language. The first thing we're going to do is add a field to translate the card. We're going to add another field that generates an example sentence for the card. We're going to create a text-to-speech field that speaks the word out. And finally, we're going to add an image field that will generate a memorable image based on our example sentence. Now we've created all of our fields and we can add some cards. We put in our word, we click this button here, and it'll generate the entire card for us. We have translation, example sentence, audio, and image. And then you can also do this for your entire deck. All right, that was probably more than 15 seconds, but hopefully you get a good sense of how this works. Let's go into detail now. So the most basic kind of field is a text field. To create one of these, you press New Text Field, then you're presented with this menu here. So first thing it's going to ask you is, what note type is this field going to be associated with? So in this case, we're studying Japanese, so we're going to set this to the Japanese study note type. Next, it's going to ask you what deck this field applies to. So in general, you're going to want your fields to apply probably to every single deck. But in case you're studying multiple languages, for example, and you're reusing a note type between decks, this lets you specify which deck this particular prompt is going to apply to. But in this case, we're going to say it's all decks. And then finally, it's going to ask you what our generated field will be. In this case, it's going to be a translation, so we'll set this to the meaning field. And then it's going to ask you to write a prompt, and this is where you tell the AI what to generate. The real secret sauce here is that you can refer to other fields within your prompt, so you can create a prompt that generates a field based off of another field. And you can even do this with AI-generated fields. So you can have one field that you put in manually, an AI-generated field based off of that, another one based off of that. In this case, we'll give it a simple prompt asking it to translate the word for us. So I wrote a prompt here, and the word vocab is enclosed in these double curly braces. So this is going to tell the prompt to go reference the value in the vocab field. So in this case, the vocab field is the word that we're trying to learn. And Smart Notes will tell you which are the valid fields that you can include in your prompt here. And then if you want, you can test this out with a random note. And when you're done, you press save. Text-to-speech and images are pretty similar. To create a new text-to-speech field, you press the new TTS button. It's going to ask for the note type, it's going to ask for the deck, it's going to ask you for source and destination fields. And then image fields, again, pretty similar. Click new image field. You can do the same sort of thing of referring to a field in curly braces. And then we can test this again. 2 cats, nice. And then once you've created the fields, you can go and edit them further. You can't change any of these options here, but you can edit the prompt and you can temporarily enable or disable fields. All right, so now let's look at how we actually generate our notes. And there's a bunch of different ways we can do this. The first way is generating fields when we're adding new cards. For this, you just add cards as normal. And when you want to generate them, you can press this sparkle button, because sparkles means AI. Or you can do Command-Shift-G to generate everything. You can also do this via the browser. So you can select any card here, press the sparkle button, or you can generate individual fields. Let's say you don't like an example sentence for some reason, you can right-click it and press Generate Smart Field, and it'll generate just that field and give you a different example. As we saw earlier, you can batch generate, so you could select all of your cards, right-click Generate Smart Fields, or you can even do this with an entire deck, so I could right-click on Current Deck, Generate Smart Fields. You can also generate custom one-off fields. So this is particularly useful for images. So let's say there's a particular image I want to generate that will remind me of the Japanese word happy. Nice. And lastly, you can let Smart Notes automatically generate for you at review time. So when you're reviewing, if you see this little sparkle over here, that means it is generated for you behind the scenes.
おいしい.
All right, so let's talk about some more advanced options. And you can basically leave all of this stuff alone and you'll be fine. But if you want to tweak things, you have the opportunity. So Smart Notes lets you customize the models that are run for text, text-to-speech, and image creation. You can change them globally across the plugin as well as for individual prompts. So to change them globally, You're going to click on one of these options. For text fields, you can pick between either ChatGPT or Claude. There's some text processing options, and then there's temperature. Temperature controls how creative the responses are. Things like example sentences, you might actually want to increase the temperature to make them a little bit more varied. For things like translations that you want more predictable, you might want to experiment with decreasing the temperature. Text-to-speech fields, basically you have a list of all of the different voices that are offered here, and then some easy ways to navigate the list. Images, right now the only options that we have are which model you want to generate with. Now what's cool is you can set that up globally, but you can also set it up for individual fields. So if we're looking at our example sentence field here, you can go into options, you can have it override your global settings, and you say, actually, I want to generate this with Claude Haiku, and I want it with a really high randomness or something. And you can do this with text fields, image fields, or text-to-speech fields. Lastly, let's talk real quick about writing good prompts. So there's a bit of an art to this. If you'll notice in this prompt here, I have respond only with the translation. And this is to make sure that the AI doesn't respond with a bunch of other stuff that you don't care about. That's it. So that's Smart Notes for Anki, or Anki, however you pronounce it. This plugin has saved me so much time. I hope you find it useful as well. If you do like it, please leave a review on Anki Web. That's super helpful. And yeah, good studying.